Good morning, student. Now we discuss Islamic population in post-thruth Indonesia, the challenge of democratic consolidation. Islamic population in post-thruth Indonesia, it's particularly discussed the proliferation of Islamic populism narratives in social media that led to hoax and hate speech with appeared in series of political election. This article argued that there has been a similar pattern of Indonesian form of populism to that of other part of Western country, particularly the US and the UK. Like populism in the latter two countries, the issue of indigeneity has generated the reproduction of post-thruth narrative, ranging from false news, hoax, and hate speech, blaming the so-called foreign elements of the country. Islamic mobilization is central to explain the proliferation of post-thruth politics which cultivate tension and division among the society and serve as a threat to democratic consolidation in contemporary Indonesia. Since the last decade, we have witnessed the global emergency of populism in various forms. A number of studies has been carried to examining the proliferation of populism narratives in many countries, such as countries in Europe, the United States, countries in Latin America and Asia, including Indonesia, which particularly emerged during the political transition and political election. The globalization of population narratives has attracted a number of scientific studies. The studies were mainly limited to cases in Europe, the United States, and Latin America. In later development, studies of population in countries in Africa and Asia also received a scholarly attention. Indonesia, form of populism in which Islam has been an essential element of populism narrative, which I call as Islamic populism. It addresses the proliferation of Islamic populism in social media and its entanglement with fake news, hoax, and hate speech in the practice of journalism. For scholarly studies on Islamic populism in Indonesia, scholars examine from historical approach and socio-political condition of Islamic populism. Islamic populism in democratic Indonesia and Islamic populism in social media. Nevertheless, these studies seem to overlook the role of political election in the proliferation of Islamic populism narrative, the political period following the election with regards to consolidation of democracy in Indonesia. As far as the Indonesia election are maintained, the Islamic population is not an interlude political period, but a continuous political frame to attack the government and a political force against the government. Thus, this article attempts to examine the phenomenon of Islamic populism from the light of political dynamic and the future of Indonesian democracy. Post-truth social media and populist politics. The term of post-truth was firstly introduced by Steve Tesis in the 1992 edition of The Nation magazine, when reflecting on the case of the Gulf War and Iran. Our case, truth is the post-truth era, 2004, and a comedian Stephen Colbert popularized a related term to post-truth, namely truthness. According to the Oxford Dictionary, post-truth consists of the words, namely post, which means after, uh, and, and the truth, which means quality of state of being true. That's truth. The truth is a noun from the adjective true, so post-truth means after the truth era. It is called the post-truth era because in this period, the use of the ratio, the underlying source, and observation of facts as a basis for measuring objectivity is no longer considered important in influencing public opinion, thinking, or behavior. Since 2016, Oxford has placed the word post-truth as Word of the Year. This is particularly because of the popularism of the post-truth, which has been massively used in many discussions since 2016. The term is often associated with the two most influential political moments in 2016, namely the UK's exit from the European Union, known as Brexit, and the election of Donald Trump as the President of the United States right there. At the effort of the two political transition, hoax delivered a bigger influence than the facts. In addition to being marked by the spread of hoax and false news on social media. The post-truth era is also marked by media publicity of politician false statements. The case during the 2016 US presidential election is an ample proof that the more media broadcast fake news about Donald Trump, the more popular Trump's name and his truth construction is spreading widely. The emergence of the post-truth era itself, apart from being an inseparable part of the race of populism, is also supported by the birth of social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, and so on. The post-truth era emerged along with fierce tension between Facebook, mainstream media, and the public in 2016. The circulation of false information circulating and spreading rapidly on Facebook later invited global concern and blamed the giant site for profit-making practice, but allowing negative content to circulate freely on its platform. The use of algorithm in reading the post-market, like and share, greatly exploit universal norm and value and makes news recipients more likely to receive news according to their perspective. In this regard, Facebook neglects its role as an intermediary in minimizing the effect and the problem faced by its user, such as fake news, hoax, and filter bubble. The peak of tension between Facebook and the mainstream media culminated at the eve of the U.S. presidential election. Post-thruth refers to an era marked by the emergence of various disruptive news of or information, which particularly appears in their form. Fake news, hoax, and hate speech. Fake or false news is not based on fake statements or truths that are widely circulated through social media. Fake news contrasts with mainstream media in the context of persuasion and influencing someone based on a commitment to professionalism, on data accuracy, and objectivity. Historically, the fake news has appeared throughout political histories. In early 1835, the New York Sun published 6 pieces of news that claimed a life on the moon. In 1844, several newspapers in Philadelphia published false reports of stealing people from public school. This newsletter incited riots, unlike previous episodes. Contemporary fake news spread at higher rate and speed. Internet technology, as well as various social media platforms, have facilitated fake news to spread quickly. In terms of content, there is a distinction between fake news and hoax. Fake news is false news or artificial news that is not based on fact. On the other hand, hoax and hoax are false information or news that can contain facts but has been twisted or fabricated. Hoax is information that is deceptive and made to deceive people by covering up or manipulating facts, even creating false information. The concept of hoax was popularized by Robert Nares through his glossary or collection of words, phrases, names, and allusion to custom, published in England in the 18th century. According to Nares, hoax comes from the word hocus, a Latin word for hocus pocus, literally translated as deceive. According to Nares, hocus pocus refers to a magician's spell that is used when doing tricks. Hocus pocus is taken from the name of the famous Italian magician Artus Botus. Thomas Addy, the 17th century physicist, argued that hocus pocus was a magician's spell that did not mean anything. The notion of hoax, as proposed by Robert Nares and Thomas Eddy, refers to the understanding of fake news made to joke or deliberately confuse recipients of information with the intention of joking. Accordingly, Conrad and Frances Soti define hate speech as an art that refers to verbal behavior and symbolic action or other communicative activity that deliberately express extreme antipathy toward groups and individuals. The hatred is usually based on difference in ethnicity, religion, and sexual orientation. Rosenfeld further argued stated that the hate speech is designed to promote hatred on the basis of race, religion, ethnicity, or national origin. As the above discussion argued, post-thruth cases culminated at the eve of political transition, such as the Brexit and the US election. The elected US President Donald Trump himself consistently made use of various social media for his political campaign. Amid the political tension, hoax politics has colored the democratic process, and hoax have a bigger influence and then that it's the fact. In addition to the spread of hoax, the post-truth era delivers a sign of the practice of journalism, which often issue false statements of politicians. The Islamic and post-truth politics in Indonesia. The post-truth politics has created a democratic paradox, which appears in the form of the rising Islamic population in contemporary Indonesia. The rise of Islamic population in Indonesia, according to scholars as Hadith and Mietner, clearly shares several main components with population in Europe, the UK, and the US. That is a proliferation of fake news, hoax, and hate speech in democratic society. In Indonesia, post-truth politics was strengthening at the eve of 2014 presidential election and the 2017 presidential election involving two president candidates, Joko Widodo or Jokowi and Prabowo. The post-truth politics was also exercised through local election of 2017 Jakarta election, which selected Anies Sandi as the governor and vice governor of Jakarta. The Jakarta election contestation, the issue of religion is a dominant and determining factor. The black campaign containing hate speech and fake news become framing of political campaign. That is framing of political campaigns. During the 2017 presidential election, the Indonesian President Jokowi complained about the massive black campaign and hoax, as he was a target for black campaign. The same is true the 2014 political election that commenced Jokowi as the president. Despite Jokowi lamented complaint, his rival in the election, Mr. Prabowo, had also been the target for black campaign and hoax. Nevertheless, social media examination shows that black campaign attacks and hoax were more often directed against Jokowi than to Prabowo. The majority of hoax and black campaign use religious issue and primordial identity. A survey by an Indonesian NGO, Indonesia Indicator, find that a significant case of hate speech and hoax on the issue of religion attacked Jokowi on Twitter platform and Facebook. Perhaps the biggest post-thruth politics in Indonesia is the case of Basuki Cahayapurnama, as known as Ahok. The case started when Ahok alluded to Al-Maida 51 in the Kepulauan Seribu, Jakarta, and later a recorded video of his speech was edited and uploaded in YouTube by Buniani. The video went viral and incited controversy as to which Ahok was accused of insulting Islam. The video later generated Islamic group reaction as they marched into the streets demanding the arrest of Ahok. After the series of mass rallies, Ahok was sentenced to 2 years in prison. The success to send Ahok to prison cultivated Islamic groups to influence Indonesian politics. In so doing, disinformation is their main strategy. Following the Ahok case, the post-truth politics gained its political momentum of the 2019 presidential election. Again, the Islamic political party, Partai Keadilan Sejahtera or PKS, was at front to attack the incumbent President Jokowi. Mardhani Alisera, a PKS politician with Nino Warisman and Egy Sujana, started a campaign through 2010 the president. Sarah called 2010 the president as an alarm to the current chaotic. The movement 2019 saying the president was indeed a political movement through Islamic mobilization. Apart from being used as a media for socialization, religious arguments are also used as justification. The populist narrative built on the legitimacy of 2019 saying the president refer to them such as the country that is on the verge of endangering the nation, on Indonesian migrant workers, and the rising fuel price. By raising the stem, the discourse constructed 2019 saying the president tends to be protectionist, racist, and revives the tension between the indigenous and the foreign sentiment. Okay, students, we close this discussion. Good morning.